Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. The quiet shelter was suddenly loud when the phone rang. It woke everyone up. The screen showed 2:47 a.m. and lit up the dark room. The man on the lower bunk reached for the phone with hands that showed he worked hard. He answered and heard his daughter's voice. He knew something was wrong. "Emma, what happened?" he asked, worried. "Dad," she said, her voice shaking. Now she sounded like his little girl, not just a voice on a phone. "It's Mom." His heart beat fast as he realized something bad had happened. "She won't wake up. I shook her, but—" Emma started crying. He felt scared. "Where's your brother?" "Sleeping. Daddy, I'm scared." "I'm coming." He put on his old gray hoodie and jeans. "Go to your room with Marcus and lock the door. Don't come out until I get there." "But the judge said—" "I know what the judge said. Lock the door, Emma." The restraining order meant nothing now, not with that tone in his daughter's voice. He grabbed his few possessions, wallet, keys to a truck he no longer owned, a photo of better days, and bolted from the shelter into the November darkness. The city streets blurred past as he ran. 3 miles. That's all that separated him from his children, but it might as well have been an ocean since the divorce, since the drinking got bad, since he'd lost everything. The apartment building loomed before him, its brick facade familiar yet foreign. He'd lived here once, been happy here. He took the stairs 3 at a time, his work boots echoing in the stairwell. The door stood ajar. Wrong. Everything about this felt wrong. "Emma? Marcus?" He pushed inside. The living room looked the same. Beige walls, brown couch he'd picked out 5 years ago, toys scattered across the carpet. But the smell hit him immediately. Something chemical. Something final. He found her in the bedroom. Ashlyn lay motionless on the bed, still wearing her blue waitress uniform from the diner. An empty pill bottle rested on the nightstand. Her skin had taken on a waxy sheen, and her lips. He checked for a pulse, knowing he wouldn't find one. Her skin felt cold beneath his fingers. Hours. She'd been gone for hours while their children slept in the next room. "No, no, no!" The words tumbled out as he stumbled backward. Despite everything, the fights, the restraining order, the bitter custody battle, he'd never wanted this. Never wanted their children to wake up orphans. A small knock came from down the hall. "Daddy?" "Stay in your room, Emma. Just a few more minutes." His mind raced. Child services would come. They'd take Emma and Marcus, split them up maybe. Foster homes. Group homes. His kids bouncing through the system while he watched helplessly from behind a restraining order and an empty bank account. Unless... The thought crept in like smoke under a door. Crazy. Impossible. But Ashlyn had no family left. Her parents died in a car crash 3 years ago. No siblings. Just him and the kids. And officially, he didn't exist in their lives anymore. He looked at his ex-wife's still form. Same height, roughly. He'd lost weight since the construction jobs dried up. They'd been mistake for siblings once, back in college, both with sharp cheekbones and brown eyes. His phone buzzed. Bobby from the shelter. "Yeah?" "Where'd you go, Grady? You know the rules." "Family emergency." "They'll mark you AWOL. You'll lose your spot." He stared at Ashlyn's driver's license on the dresser. "I won't be coming back." "Grady." He hung up and dialed another number. Tommy picked up on the 5th ring, voice thick with sleep. "I need your help. No questions." "Jesus, what time is it?" "Tommy, please. I've never asked you for anything." A pause. Tommy owed him from that bar fight 2 years back. "What do you need?" "Come to Ashlyn's place. Bring your van." "And Tommy?" "Bring Maria." "My sister? Why would No questions, remember?" 30 minutes later, Tommy and Maria stood in the apartment, taking in the scene. Maria, a nurse at County General, checked Ashlyn's body with professional detachment. "How long?" Tommy asked. 6 hours, maybe 8. Maria's dark eyes found Grady's. "You call 911? "Not yet." "Grady, I need you to help me move her. And Maria, I need you to teach me something." Maria's eyebrows rose. Teach you what? He picked up Ashlyn's license again. How to be her. The silence stretched until Tommy broke it. That's insane. My kids will end up in the system. I've got no job, no home, no rights. But Ashlyn? She's got custody. She's got this apartment. She's got a job. You can't just watch me. Maria studied him with those sharp nurse's eyes. You're serious. Dead serious. She walked around him slowly, appraising. You're about the same height. Face shape's not too different. You'd need to lose more weight. Maria, Tommy protested. He's right about the kids, she said. I've seen what happens. The system chews them up. She turned back to Grady. You'd need hormones eventually if you're serious about this, but makeup, the right clothes, mannerisms, that might buy you time. You're both crazy. Maria ignored her brother. First things first, we need to deal with her. They wrapped Ashlyn's body in sheets from the linen closet. Grady couldn't look at her face. This woman he'd loved, fought with, lost. Now he would become her. The twisted poetry of it made his stomach turn. Tommy's van idled in the alley behind the building. They moved quickly, quietly. Maria had suggested the old quarry outside town. Deep water, weighted body. It felt wrong, every second of it, but the alternative, his children scattered to strangers, felt worse. I'll need her clothes, Maria said as they drove back. Everything, and we'll need to do something about your hair. Cut it like hers? Hers was to her shoulders. Yours is too short. We'll need a wig at first. She glanced at him in the rearview mirror. You'll need to grow it out. Brown, like hers, like yours. Back at the apartment, dawn crept through the blinds. The children still slept. Maria transformed the bathroom into a makeshift salon, while Tommy stood guard, uncomfortable but loyal. Shave first, Maria instructed, handing him a pink razor. Everything. Face, legs, arms, chest. The hair swirled down the drain. Each stroke of the razor stripped away Grady, revealing something new, someone new. Maria worked with practiced efficiency, foundation to soften his jawline, concealer for the beard shadow, eye makeup to emphasize their almond shape, lipstick in the coral shade Ashlyn favored. The wig, she said, producing a brown shoulder-length style from her bag. I grabbed it from the hospital's cancer ward. They won't miss one. He stared at the mirror. A stranger stared back. Not quite Ashlyn, but not Grady either. Something in between. Now clothes. Maria raided Ashlyn's closet, returning with a simple outfit. Black leggings, an oversized pink sweater, flats. These should fit. You're lucky she dressed conservatively. The clothes felt foreign against his newly smooth skin. The leggings clung in unfamiliar ways. The sweater's wide neck kept slipping off one shoulder. But when he looked in the full-length mirror, he saw a woman. Tired, worried, but undeniably female. Walk, Maria commanded. He took a step. Another. No, smaller steps. Roll your hips slightly. Shoulders back, but relaxed. She demonstrated, and he mimicked. Better. Now sit. She drilled him on the basics. How to sit with knees together, how to gesture with relaxed wrists, how to pitch his voice higher without sounding forced. By the time Emma's door creaked open, he'd learned enough to fool a sleepy 8-year-old. Mom? Emma rubbed her eyes, clutching a stuffed rabbit. His heart hammered. This was it. Morning, sweetie. Emma patted over and wrapped her arms around his waist. I had a bad dream. I called Daddy, but he didn't come. Everything's okay now. The lie tasted bitter. Nothing would ever be okay again. But maybe it could be something else, something that kept his family together. Tommy and Maria left with mumbled excuses about work. Maria pressed a tube of lipstick into his hand. Reapply every few hours. Call me tonight. We have work to do. Days blurred together. He called in sick to the diner, buying time. Maria returned each evening after the children slept, refining his appearance, teaching him the 1,000 small things that made the difference. How to apply mascara without poking his eye. How to brush the wig without destroying it. How to paint his nails in smooth, even strokes. You need a story, she said one night, painting his toenails a soft pink. For the bruises. He'd forgotten about those. Ashlyn's arms had been mottled purple and yellow, old ones from their last fight, the one that ended with the restraining order. Car accident? He suggested. Medical records. Try again. Fell down the stairs? Maybe, but people will ask questions, especially at work. She capped the polish. Speaking of which, you can't avoid the diner forever. The thought terrified him. Fooling sleepy children was one thing, but Ashlyn's co-workers? Her boss? What if they notice? They won't if you're careful. People see what they expect to see. She studied his face. You're getting better, the voice especially, but you need to live it full time. No switching back and forth. I know. Do you? Because once you commit to this, there's no going back. You'll be her. Forever. Forever. The word echoed in the small bathroom. Forever wearing these clothes, this face, this life. But when he tucked Emma and Marcus into bed each night, when he heard their breathing slow into sleep, he knew he'd already chosen. The diner loomed before him like a fortress. Joe's 24-hour breakfast. Ashlyn had worked there 3 years, pulling double shifts to make rent after the divorce. He smoothed the black uniform skirt and pushed through the door. Ash, there you are! Brenda, a fellow waitress, rushed over. Her red uniform matched her lipstick. We were worried sick. You never miss shifts. Sorry, I was sick. Brenda's eyes narrowed, taking in his appearance. The wig sat properly, makeup carefully applied, but something in her expression made his stomach clench. You look different. His mouth went dry. Lost some weight, being sick and all. No, it's something else. She circled him slowly. Did you do something to your hair? Just styled it differently. Huh, she shrugged. Well, Joe's pissed. Better grovel a little. Joe barely looked up from the grill when he entered the kitchen. 3 days, no call. You're lucky I need waitresses. I'm sorry, it won't happen again. Damn right it won't. Take section 4. The breakfast rush tested every skill Maria had taught him. Balancing plates on newly manicured hands, walking quickly in flats without the masculine stride he'd used for 35 years, keeping his voice in that higher register while calling out orders. 2 eggs over easy, wheat toast, hold the butter. By noon, sweat trickled down his back, making the bra straps, another new torture device, slip. But no one questioned him. No one looked twice except to order more coffee or complain about cold eggs. Weeks dissolved into routine. Wake up, apply makeup, get the kids ready for school, work the morning shift, pick up the kids, help with homework, cook dinner, Maria's evening lessons, sleep, repeat. His body changed. The hormones Maria had sourced through questionable channels softened his features, redistributed fat to his hips and chest. The wig became less necessary as his own brown hair grew past his ears, then his jaw, finally brushing his shoulders. He learned to style it like Ashlyn had. Simple ponytail for work, loose waves for parent-teacher conferences. Mrs. Patterson? The principal's voice snapped him back to the present. They sat in tiny chairs outside Emma's classroom, discussing her recent behavior. Sorry, you were saying? Emma's been acting out, fighting with other girls, her teacher's concerned. Of course she was acting out. Her mother was dead, replaced by an imposter who grew more convincing each day, but could never fill that void. I'll talk to her. There's also the matter of the emergency contact. We still have Mr. Patterson listed, but with the restraining order, he won't be a problem. The words came out harder than intended. Talking about himself in third person had become second nature, but it still stung. Spring arrived with little fanfare. He'd been living as Ashlyn for 4 months. The children had stopped mentioning their father. Even Marcus, now 5, seemed to accept this new version of mom who played catch better than before, but couldn't braid hair without YouTube tutorials. The hormone treatments worked their slow magic. His chest filled out the bras properly now. His hips curved where they'd once been straight. Even his face had softened, cheekbones less sharp, jaw less defined. When he looked in the mirror, Grady had vanished completely. Only Ashlyn remained. But loneliness crept in during quiet moments. He couldn't date. The deception ran too deep. Couldn't make new friends. Too many questions. Even Tommy had distanced himself, uncomfortable with what his friend had become. Only Maria remained constant, stopping by weekly to check his progress. "You pass completely now," she said one evening, watching him cook dinner in a floral dress and apron. No one would ever guess. "Is that supposed to make me feel better?" "I don't know. Does it?" He stirred the pasta sauce, considering. Did it feel better, this complete erasure of his former self? Or had he simply traded one prison for another? "Mom, can we have ice cream for dessert?" Emma bounced into the kitchen, brown pigtails swinging. "After you finish your vegetables." "All of them?" "Every last bite." Emma groaned but smiled. These moments, normal, mundane, perfect, made everything worth it. The physical discomfort, the constant vigilance, the death of Grady, all acceptable prices for his children's stability. Summer brought new challenges. Pool parties meant swimsuits. He found a modest one-piece in navy blue, spent hours practicing with tape and padding to create convincing curves. The first time at the community pool, he'd been certain everyone stared, saw through the disguise, but Emma and Marcus splashed happily while other mothers discussed school districts and grocery prices, including him without question. "Ashlyn, right?" A woman in a green bikini extended her hand. "I'm Nicole. My daughter's in Emma's class." They chatted about teacher assignments and summer camps. Normal mom conversation. He'd become fluent in this new language, discussing things Grady never would have noticed. The best sales at Target. Which pediatrician to avoid? How to remove grass stains from soccer uniforms. August arrived with its oppressive heat. He'd been Ashlyn for 9 months. The wig gathered dust in a closet, his natural brown hair now past his shoulders. The hormone treatments had worked almost too well. He'd gone up 2 cup sizes and had to buy new bras. His voice had settled into a natural, feminine pitch through practice and muscle memory. One evening, while the kids played in their rooms, the doorbell rang. He opened it to find a man in a postal uniform holding a package. "Sign here, please." Their fingers brushed as he handed over the pen. The touch sent an unexpected jolt through him. The mailman, David, according to his name tag, smiled. Nice eyes, green with gold flecks. "Have a good evening, ma'am." He watched David walk away, admiring the fit of his uniform, then froze. What was he doing? He couldn't, but the thought lingered. The attraction confused him. He'd been straight his whole life, loved Ashlyn despite their problems. But now, living as a woman, treated as a woman, his body changed by hormones. Did that change everything else too? David returned the next week with another package. This time, he lingered. "I hope this isn't too forward, but would you like to get coffee sometime?" The safe answer was no. Too complicated, too dangerous. But loneliness won. "I'd like that." They met at a small cafe downtown. He wore Ashlyn's nicest dress, red with small white flowers, and spent an hour on makeup. His hands shook as he applied lipstick. David stood when he arrived, pulling out his chair. A gentleman. They talked about safe topics, weather, kids. David had none but wanted them. Work. He found himself relaxing, laughing at David's stories about difficult deliveries and angry dogs. "Can I see you again?" David asked as they parted. "I'd like that." One coffee became weekly dinners. David proved patient, kind, understanding when he claimed to need time after a difficult divorce. They held hands during movies, kissed goodnight at the door. Each gesture felt both foreign and natural, as if his body had always known this dance, but his mind lagged behind. Fall arrived with its demands. School activities, Halloween costumes, parent-teacher conferences, where everyone called him Mrs. Patterson without hesitation. He'd lived as Ashlyn for a full year. The deception had become truth, at least externally. But guilt gnawed at him. David deserved honesty. The children deserved to know their father hadn't abandoned them, had sacrificed everything to stay close. But how could he explain? How could he risk losing everything? "You're troubled tonight," David observed over Chinese takeout. They'd been dating 3 months. He'd met the kids, who adored him. Everything felt perfect and terrifying. Just thinking. About what? The words perched on his tongue. I'm not who you think I am. I'm living a lie. I'm a man who became a woman to keep his children. Instead, the future. David took his hand. His manicured nails, now naturally long, painted soft purple, intertwined with David's larger fingers. Whatever it is, we can face it together. Winter circled back, marking 15 months since that horrible night. He stood before the bathroom mirror, studying his reflection. The hormones had completed their work. Soft curves, full breasts, hips that filled out the gray pencil skirt perfectly. His brown hair fell in waves past his shoulders. The face staring back bore only passing resemblance to Grady. Even bone structure seemed different, though he knew that was impossible. But beyond the physical, something deeper had shifted. He moved like a woman without thinking. Sat, stood, gestured with natural femininity. His voice never slipped. He dreamed as Ashlyn now, thought as her, existed as her completely. "Mom, David's here," Marcus called from the living room. One last check of lipstick, berry shade today, and he emerged. David waited in jeans and a blue button-down, holding flowers. Always flowers on date night. "You look beautiful." "Thank you." The compliment warmed him in ways that still surprised. They dropped the kids at Maria's. She'd become Aunt Maria, happy to babysit, and drove to David's apartment. They'd been intimate a few times, careful encounters where he'd kept certain truths hidden in darkness and clever positioning, but tonight felt different, heavier with possibility. "I need to tell you something," he said over wine. David's face grew serious. "Okay. Where to begin? How to explain? I haven't been entirely honest about my past." "Your ex-husband?" "No. Well, yes, but more than that." Deep breath. "I'm transgender." The word hung between them. Not the full truth. That implied a journey he'd never planned, an identity he'd stumbled into through desperation rather than desire. But close enough. David set down his wine. "When did you transition? About a year and a half ago?" "The kids know?" Another lie balanced on truth's edge. "It's complicated." "I see." David stood, walked to the window. City lights sparkled below. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I was scared you'd leave, scared of judgment." "All true, if incomplete. Do you think so little of me?" "No, David turned. "I fell in love with the woman you are. Not your past, not your body. You." Love. He'd said love. Even knowing this, especially knowing this, it takes incredible courage to live as your authentic self. Authentic self. If only David knew how backwards he had it. But in that moment, held in strong arms, it felt true. He was living authentically, as a parent who'd do anything for his children, as a person who'd discovered unexpected parts of himself through desperate measures, as a woman, because what else was he now? They made love differently that night, without shame or shadows. David traced scars from surgeries that never happened, kissed skin soft from hormones meant for a different purpose. In the darkness, truth and fiction blurred until even he couldn't separate them. Christmas morning arrived with its chaos of wrapping paper and squealing children. David had spent the night making pancakes in his boxers while Marcus showed him new toys. Domestic bliss built on foundations of sand, but standing firm nonetheless. "Can we call him Dad?" Emma asked later, privately. "Our real dad's gone forever, right?" The question pierced him. Their real dad stood right there, had been there every day, transformed beyond recognition. But Grady was legally dead, had to stay dead for this illusion to hold. If David's okay with it, and when you're ready. Spring brought a proposal. David knelt in the park where they'd had their third date, offering a simple diamond ring. "Marry me. Let me be their father. Let me love you forever." Through tears, when had crying become so easy? He said yes. Planning a wedding meant paperwork, documentation, but Ashlyn Patterson existed in every system that mattered. Maria had seen to that with careful hacking and favors from friends who understood desperate measures. The ceremony was small. Maria served as maid of honor, the only one who knew the bride's true history. Emma scattered rose petals with serious concentration. Marcus carried rings on a pillow, only dropping them once. David's eyes never left his face as they exchanged vows, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. Mrs. Ashlyn Chen. Another name, another identity layered over the rest. David had suggested keeping Patterson for consistency with the kids' school records, but taking his name felt like one more step away from who he'd been, one more commitment to who he'd become. Their wedding night in a modest hotel while Maria watched the kids, he told David everything. The complete truth, Ashlyn's death, the desperate decision, the 1.5 years of deception. David listened without interrupting. When the story ended, silence stretched between them. So you're not transgender, you're a father who became a mother to keep his kids. Yes. And Ashlyn, the real Ashlyn, is dead. Yes. Jesus. David ran his hands through his hair. I don't even have words. I understand if you want an annulment. If you can't forgive, stop. David pulled him close. You think I'd leave you? Leave them? After everything? But I lied. You survived. You protected your children the only way you could. David's voice grew fierce. Any parent would understand that. I understand that. They held each other as dawn broke through hotel curtains. Two people bound by love, secrets, and the strange paths life sometimes demands we walk. Years passed. The children grew. Emma started high school, all legs and attitude, but still her daddy's girl, though she'd never know it. Marcus joined Little League, inherited his father's athletic ability and his mother's determination, both from the same parent, ironically. David proved true to his word. He adopted the children officially, giving them the stable father figure they needed. He never treated his wife differently after learning the truth. If anything, his respect deepened for the sacrifice made, the identity surrendered for love. They fostered other children too, kids who needed stable homes, understanding parents. A teenager struggling with his own gender identity found acceptance he'd never known. Twin girls abandoned by parents who couldn't handle their disabilities discovered love had many forms. Their house filled with laughter, arguments, life. He'd been Ashlyn for 5 years when Maria called with news. His father, Grady's father, had died. A man who'd disowned his son for the divorce, for the drinking, for a dozen failures real and imagined. But still, grief hit unexpectedly. I can't go to the funeral, he told David that night. Grady's been dead for years. Showing up would raise questions. Then mourn him here, your way. They held their own memorial in the backyard. Candles for a grandfather the kids barely remembered. Stories edited for content, but true in emotion. David's steady presence an anchor through waves of loss. Not just for a father, but for every connection to his former life, severed by necessity. Sometimes, late at night, he wondered what Grady would think of Ashlyn. Would he recognize himself in her careful nail polish application? In the way she braided Emma's hair for soccer games? In how she loved a man with wholehearted devotion? But those wonderings grew rarer. Grady felt like a character from a book read long ago, half-remembered, fuzzy around the edges. Ashlyn was real. Ashlyn woke each morning to kiss her husband goodbye. Ashlyn attended PTA meetings and signed permission slips. Ashlyn existed in every way that mattered. The brown hair that had once been a wig, then his own grown long, showed silver at the temples now. Laugh lines mapped years of joy around green eyes. His body, shaped by hormones and time, had found its rhythm. Woman in every cell, every gesture, every breath. Mom? Emma, home from college for Thanksgiving, found him looking through old photos. Just remembering. Is that Dad's old truck? She pointed to a picture's background, barely visible behind a younger, harder version of himself. Must be. Emma studied the photo more closely. You looked sad then. I was. But not anymore? He closed the album, pulled his daughter close. No, sweetheart, not anymore. The family gathered for dinner. David carved turkey while Marcus's girlfriend told embarrassing stories from his childhood. Foster kids, some permanent, some temporary, filled every chair and corner with noise. Maria, gray-haired but still sharp, helped serve dishes she'd taught him to cook years ago when this journey began. Looking around the table, he saw the life built from desperate choices. The family preserved through unthinkable sacrifice, the love that bloomed in unexpected soil. Grace was said. Hands joined around the table, his manicured fingers between David's strong grip and Emma's polished, chipped nails. Thankful for health, for family, for second chances dressed in different clothes. After dinner, while others watched football or napped, he stepped onto the back porch. Snow began to fall, dusting the world clean. David joined him, wrapping strong arms around his waist from behind. "Regrets?" David asked, chin resting on his shoulder. "Never. Not even, especially not that." He turned in the embrace, faced this man who'd seen past every carefully constructed surface to the truth beneath, and loved it all. "I'd do it again, every moment, every hormone shot, every awkward day learning to walk in heels, every single one." They kissed as snow continued falling, erasing footprints and sharp edges alike. Inside, their children laughed at some shared joke. Their house overflowed with love hard-won and fiercely protected. He was Ashlyn Chen now, wife, mother, woman. The man he'd been existed only in carefully hidden documents and fading memories. But that ghost had given his children everything: stability, love, a future. The greatest magic trick ever performed, making himself disappear so completely that even he sometimes forgot the illusion. The sliding door opened. "Mom, Dad, we're starting charades." "Coming, sweetheart." Hand in hand, they went inside. Back to the warmth, the chaos, the beautiful, ordinary life built on extraordinary choices. Back to the truth they'd made together, that love transcends bodies, that family survives transformation, that sometimes becoming someone else entirely is the only way to remain who you truly are. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.